for the week of December 30th, 2024. Now, check your calendars because, after all, last week I said it was the forecast for December 24th, the week of, and December 24th was on Tuesday. I should have said 23rd. An astrologer should know what day it is, really. That's an important thing. But, well, we'll blame it on Mercury. Speaking of which, this is not Mercury, this is Pepper, but here she is to help out with the forecast. So, yes, it is the last forecast for the week, for the year of 2024. And we will actually, at the end of this, have a little summary, not a summary, a little, a preview, well, there's a little taste of 2025. Not going to do a whole thing about 2025, just gonna give you a little hints about it. Okay, so let's start with this week, though, because this is not a quiet week. We start out quietly enough with the new moon in Capricorn on Monday. So this is a very good time for focusing on things related to career and reputation, things that you want to build out in the world in the course of 2025. This is one of those new moons that's really good for setting intentions, and in this way is very, very practical. So I would look at this as being a time when you would think about career. Now, don't set the intentions right at the new moon. The new moon is exact on it's on Monday at 5:27 p.m. Eastern time, which would probably make doesn't probably make it. It makes it 21:57 Greenwich. 21:27 Greenwich. You don't want to set intentions on the new moon anyway. You want to meditate, you want to let go. You might want to focus a little bit on things that are important to you, but you don't want to set any intentions. You're going to wait 12 to 24 hours later. In this case, I would say probably closer to 24 would be a good idea. And then you're going to kind of, write down or say out loud your intentions, light a candle, something along those lines, whatever makes you happy in your intention setting regards. And then long about, I don't know, I want to say Wednesday evening. I like to wait until you can see the moon in the sky. It should probably be on Wednesday evening. It's a good idea, that little crescent moon in the sky. It's a good idea to start taking some action. It doesn't need to be anything big and dramatic. In fact, it shouldn't be, but a little something. If you're looking for a new job or a job, which would be a new job if you don't have one anyway, it would be a good idea to, I don't know, tinker with your LinkedIn profile, start thinking about making, on some other job site or something along those lines, perusing the want ads, as we used to say. Maybe give a call to a friend who you think might have a couple of leads for you or something along those lines. Nothing very dramatic. I wouldn't say it was time to apply for a job or anything like that, although, it's not a bad time to do it either. But you make some kind of action. The cosmos responds to actions just as much, in fact, more than it does to words. And, these things that I'm suggesting, these are just common sense things. If you're looking for a job, you want a job change or something like that, well, then obviously your LinkedIn profile and looking for a job are important things to do. But do something. That's the whole key. I'm giving you like little hints about the best time to do it, but it is better to do something at a bad time than it is to do nothing at a good time when you're looking for results. So this week would be a good time for that sort of thing. Now we get through New Year's, and on January 2nd, which is going to be Thursday, Venus enters Pisces. Venus is about as far away from the sun now as she can ever get. She's entering into Pisces. There's the whole sign of Aquarius between her and the sun, and then the sun is just really approaching the middle degrees of Capricorn. That means that they're getting to be about as far apart as they ever can be, because they're both, well, Venus is closer to the sun than the Earth, so they never get too far apart from our perspective. If you think about it, it works. But you could trust me too. Um, that means that Venus is going to retrograde soon. Not too soon. Not too soon. We're gonna have to wait out there until I think it's late February to see Venus retrograding. But it is a sign that we're getting near to that point. Now, Venus in Pisces. Now, in our personal charts, it means one thing, but when Venus transiting Venus in the sky is in a sign, it kind of sets the tone for the collective mood. It sort of gives a sense of, where we're going in terms of socializing, and not so much mood, actually, where we're going in terms of socializing and connecting with others, where our values are. When she was in Aquarius, the emphasis is on groups and organizations, folks that are of like mind, folks that share your ideals, and so on. It was very nice for the holiday season. You're meeting with people that are friends and stuff like that. That's a nice holiday brunch or something like that. Perfect Venus in Aquarius type of thing. Venus in Pisces, which is considered to be her best sign. I was going to say favorite, but I'm just going to say best sign. In Pisces, Venus is not so much about, personal relationships like you and me type of thing. Not even so much about socializing, not so much about who you're connecting with and how you're connecting. Venus in Pisces is placing the value, right? That sense of connection, Pisces, with all beings, right? Or as wide as you can possibly make that circle, right? This is a time for developing and exercising as much compassion as you can, to look at everyone and say, well, everybody is trying to make themselves as happy as they can. Everybody is trying to relieve themselves from discomfort. Some are doing it in real stupid ways. There's no two ways about that. But, everybody is trying. Everybody is like sort of, working their way through the whole, working their way through the whole maze of samsara. And, you can have compassion for people. You can say, okay, well, they're not doing it well, but they're trying. You can start with people that are doing it well, people that you love, people that are close to you, and you want them to be happy. And then, go on to people that are kind of neutral to you. And, well, why wouldn't you want them to be happy? And then finally, if you get good at it, you start thinking some of the people that are real jerks and go, well, we'd all be better off if they were happy, if they weren't such miserable creatures doing all the kinds of crazy stuff that they do. And so it's that kind of thing. You go follow whatever it is that guides you, and focus on compassion. It is certainly and it doesn't have to, you don't restrict yourself to people. Animals, it's probably easier to start with animals and trees and things like that. Um, but the whole thing is compassion. The whole thing is every being needs a little help. Every being is a little twisted up in the knots of samsara, Maya, and it would be good to at least wish them to be a little bit less twisted up in them. That's Venus in Pisces. In terms of socializing, I guess maybe dry January is out of the question. Well, we'll have to see how that goes. Now, as we move on, we have some kind of frictiony energy here. It's exact on Friday morning, but we'll really be feeling it Thursday. Remember, the aspects build, they reach a peak, and then they kind of trail off. This aspect is going to be very strong. Actually, we're going to have a big run up to it, actually, Wednesday, Thursday, and then it'll continue on through Friday. And that is the opposition of Mars to Pluto. Mars retrograde at 0 degrees of Leo is going, 1 degree of Leo, actually, is going to be opposing Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius. This is a pretty charged aspect The last time these two opposed each other because of Mars's retrograde was on November 2nd. That was Mars' last thing he did before he left the sign of Cancer, was to oppose Pluto. And now they are again opposing each other. On a collective level, interesting. The Leo 9 energy, Mars retrograde in Leo. Are we reconsidering some things, some of that leadership kind of thing and all? And Pluto in Aquarius, of course, is the collective. How are you? Everything has to go through the collective. Everything has to go through the people. Everything's being, for better or for worse, everything's being filtered through. Mars opposite Pluto is a fairly explosive aspect. And while I'm sure, not you, but some people are going to be a little hot with this aspect, especially with Mars retrograde and thus very, very powerful. So you kind of want to, give folks their space if it looks like they're getting kind of hot. Because indeed, people will blow with this aspect. I mean, people blow with every aspect, but this is one that you're going to want to be careful with. Look and see what happens in the collective. It should be interesting. As we move on to Saturday, the sun is going to sextile Saturn, and that's a very positive kind of aspect. It should help get us back in the box if there are any major Mars-Pluto effects. But in general, it's a constructive kind of energy. The sun's in Capricorn, which is Saturn's sign. Saturn's out in Pisces, which neither one of them can really figure out what to do with. But, Saturn could use a call from somebody that's at home, and we can kind of start to work out some practical plans. Again, if you're setting intentions for things that you want to do in terms of career and all of that sort of thing, this is kind of a nice, helpful energy. How it plays out at the collective, we'll have to see. Now, we have a lot of important stuff happening on Mondays lately. I begin the forecasts on Monday. And I don't want to give away all the excitement for Monday, January 6th, because there's a lot of stuff going on. But, again, aspects build beforehand. And so we have to recognize that what's happening on January 6th of 2025 is going to be felt on the weekend before, on Saturday and Sunday, the 4th and the 5th. First in line among these aspects is Mercury in Sagittarius at an extreme degree of Sagittarius, at 27 degrees of Sagittarius, squaring Neptune. Neptune being at 27 degrees of his own home sign. And the effect that we're going to get over here is like Mercury retrograde raised to a power. Right? Mercury in Sagittarius tends to go off on what it believes to be true. Neptune in Pisces is great for multiplying possibilities and sort of making things look good. Neptune always kind of makes things shine a little bit brighter or look a little bit more tarnished than they otherwise would. It's an extraordinarily unrealistic vibe. People are going to say stuff that they don't mean. People are going to say stuff that they do mean. And there's just a lot of nebulousness here. Don't trust that. Don't even trust yourself. And, and in fact, watch your own internal dialogue. The 4th, the 5th, the 6th of January. Watch your own internal dialogue and see if you aren't spinning yourself out into this, this this world that's a creation of your own bullshit. That's what we're really have to watch out for. And of course, if somebody else is telling you something, you have to assess whether or not they're telling you a creation of their own BS. But it's not a very realistic vibe. The Pisces moon that precedes it is going to be a factor involved. So we'll be feeling that through the weekend because the Pisces moon is coming in more on like Friday, Saturday into Sunday. So yeah, we really and truly don't want to take this, I mean, it's hard not to take things seriously, but you want to be cautious about it. Then We also have, and it's the first quarter moon, we also have Mars retrograding back into Cancer, sort of reheating things from when he passed through there going direct, because he went direct and now he's stopped, now he's going back over. He's going to go back over that point of opposition to Pluto over the course of the week. And, it keeps this week's Mars Pluto opposition, it keeps it hot. So as we get into the weekend and we approach January 6th, we want to keep it in our minds that, things are going to be a little bit unrealistic and yet a little bit out of hand. It's high energy, questionable information. It's not a bad time. You're going to be fine, but not everybody. It's not a bad time. Get through it okay. We get through stuff like this all the time. But this is not realistic. It's energized and unrealistic. So we have to kind of keep that in mind as we go through the weekend. I mean, that Sun Saturn aspect would seem to help, but we'll have to see how much it helps. We'll have to see how much it helps. On a personal level, I'm sure it does, but we might have to wait just a little bit. We might have to wait until January 7th or 8th to really have a good time to start making determined actions and stuff like that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about 2025. There's a lot happening in 2025. Sometimes I give like year ahead forecasts. They're never very popular, and I don't blame anybody for that because really, what can you do? First of all, you're going to forget. You probably forget most of the stuff from the weekly forecast. What are you going to remember from the yearly forecast? What we can do is talk in general. We can make a few general statements. And each of the things that I'm going to be talking about now will have their own video, will have our own extended discussion because we have a lot of things changing signs in 2025. We have Jupiter changing signs and Saturn changing signs and Uranus changing signs and Neptune changing signs and the nodes of the moon changing signs. Oof, that's a lot. And we've just gotten used to Pluto stuck in Aquarius, right? Now, Saturn and Neptune are leaving Pisces for Aries, and that's going to happen in the springtime, the end of March for Neptune and the end of May for Saturn. And we're going to have to deal with the Aries energy that perhaps Neptune is going to idealize, and then Saturn will be kind of adding a little bit of structure. It's an interesting thing, though. The nodes of the moon the north node of the moon has been in Aries for a while, and now is going to go into Pisces. It's going to go into Pisces on January 11th. That's coming up real soon. And we'll talk about that. When we talk about like hints for each sign and stuff like that. So the north node of the moon has been pulling us towards the Aries, and now Neptune and Saturn are going to get in there and see what they can do with the Aries energy. In June, Jupiter is going to leave Gemini and go into Cancer, which those of you that are Sag and Sag rising, it's good news. And then in the summertime, Uranus is going to take a little step into Gemini, leaving the sign of Taurus. Now, Jupiter is going to stay in Cancer, but Saturn and Neptune they're in Aries and they're going to back out again into Pisces for a little while. And then they're going to come back in towards the end of the year and early next year. And the same thing with Uranus, getting into Gemini in mid-year and then backing out after about 4 months and staying in Taurus for a while and then coming through next year. And early 2026, and oh boy, it is not too early to be talking about 2026. In early 2026, Saturn and Neptune are going to meet in Aries, and then Uranus is going to be in Gemini, and so on. The point is that there's a transition kind of happening now. The nodes of the moon The nodes of the moon pretty much steadily, although they wobble, they're pretty much going to stay in Pisces once they get in January. The other planets are moving back and forth. And that's an indication that 2025 is a year of transitions, right? It's a year of transitions. It's a year that has a lot of open possibilities. And we're not quite, well, happily, we're not locked into any one particular outcome. I feel that when the planets do this kind of moving into a sign, staying there for a few months, and then retrograding back out into the previous sign, it's like they're saying, do you want it to be about this? Let me back away and you can think about it. Did you like what you saw for those few months, or would you like it to be about something else? I know some themes are going to come up that are going to be just on the Aries Gemini theme list and all of that type of thing. That's a for sure. But the way that we manifest these things is up to us. And I feel that we get this kind of are you sure this is what you want? We have some possibilities here, especially at the collective level. Not that it isn't going to make an impact on us each individually, it will. But at the collective level, do you want Neptune and Aries for the next 14 years to be about this, or would you like to maybe make it about something else, or de-emphasize this and put something else in? So we'll be in the process of collective discussion. The collective discussions are very much the kind of thing that you have going on in your own head when you think, I should do this, maybe do that. I'm going to be, the little chattering, the little demon and angel. But there's really like the 10 planets and a few asteroids and all that. Everybody's chattering in their little ideas. Well, that's what's happening in the collective, so that we can come to some kind of a conclusion. In 2026, when Uranus stays in Gemini and Saturn stays in Aries and Neptune is in Aries to stay, then we're going to have, we're sort of setting the tone. Yeah, we could steer, but once the ball starts rolling down the hill for real, like not a practice run, but really rolling down the hill, this could be a good skiing analogy, but I know nothing about skiing, so we'll keep it the ball rolling down the hill. Once the ball is rolling down this side of the mountain and it's headed in this direction, it becomes fairly difficult to stop it. So 2025, maybe getting the start with that Venus in Pisces compassion thing and all that. 2025 is the year when it's like, okay, we have to be kind of sure what we want to do, or we have to work out what we want to do, because 2026 we're going to be kind of locked in for a while with that. So it is a year of transition. It is a year that is up in the air, right? We're going to go forward, we're going to come back and revisit, we're going to come forward, we're going to come back and revisit. It's an opportunity to think about what we want. Now, undoubtedly, it's going to be a very active year. There's no two ways about that. It's going to be a very active year. But it's really, really good to think about it from the perspective of the product is still to be formed. This time next year, or shortly thereafter, going to be a different forecast. It's going to have a lot to do with we've made our decisions, we've cast the die. So in your personal life and in the collective, let's try to be as upbeat, as compassionate, as open as we possibly can be. I wish you a really, really wonderful 2025. And if you wish me that, thank you.